Hello, hello. Welcome in, everyone. Let me know that you can see me and hear me, and then we will get started. Make sure I can turn this volume off. Hi, hello. Welcome to part two of our rotational dating series. And this one is going to be geared more towards your 30s if you are wanting marriage and kids. So I am going to be assuming that you watched the first training, the part one, in which we laid down sort of the foundation of why social relationships and marriage and having something to trade is very important to us as Homo sapiens. This is millions of years of our history. This is how we've evolved. And I believe that if you're going to break the rules, then you should at least know what they are so you can move accordingly. I believe in choice being informed choice and knowing what our consequences are, right? So this one, like I said, if you want the first one, if you haven't watched it, I'll have the link in the description box and I'll also pin it to the first comment after this training is over. And this one I wanted to make specifically for women that are in their 30s and who want marriage and kids. If you're in your 30s and you think you want marriage and not sure about kids, watch this and then also watch the one that I'm going to do for women in their 40s because the foundational stuff is going to be the same, like what we shared in yesterday's training. I think that was yesterday, feels like a long time ago. But some of the strategies and how you're going to move will change. Okay. I must say, I was just positively overwhelmed with the response from yesterday's training. Wow. I did not know that my audience was craving this information so bad. I have been able to kind of intuit that women of all ages need guidance. We used to get this guidance through our moms, aunts, grandmothers, cousins, sisters. But I think what's happened lately is, through the last couple of generations, our moms were dealing with their own stuff and maybe weren't available. Or I think right now what's happening with the political climate is that people are afraid to speak the truth. I know I've certainly dealt with this myself. We just want to say things like, girl, do you, and whatever's fine for you. And we want to lie to each other so not to upset people. But I think we're really needing someone to make up their mind and tell us what to do. Like we need guidance. We used to get this guidance from religion and our social networks, like our family systems, our kin. And I think both of them have, over the years, this sort of mistrust from us. And so, therefore, we're lacking in guidance. And if we don't get this from religion and we don't get this from our family, then we're looking to like empty shells. Like we're looking to celebrities and we're looking to people on the internet giving us advice that are not embodied you know, in what we want. And so we're asking random people for advice. Um, Here is what I would tell my kids. This is what I do tell my kids, and you can look at this information as an older sister, an auntie, or a mom type giving you advice and guidance, and you can take what suits you and leave the rest. My biggest advice for you is going to be the same that I gave you in yesterday's training. If you want to be successful in today's dating climate, you're going to have to follow what our ancestors did, and that was remove emotion out of it. Some of you guys are way too much up in your feelings, you're too emotional, and which gives me the illusion that you're not cut out for this. You are not healthy enough for this. So if you can remove emotion, if you can have emotional control, you are going to be successful in what I'm about to share. The second thing I want to share is that if you get triggered, that means that I have hit upon unknowingly, unintentionally, an emotional wound that you have, which means the responsibility is on you to heal. People who don't have emotional wounds don't get triggered. They just, are set in their decisions. So when we get triggered, that means someone else has hit upon our wound. And so that's on us. Okay. So If you are in your 30s and you know that you want a family, give this video a thumbs up. You know you want marriage, you know you want children. Let me first begin by saying that that is the most natural thing. We have been having children forever. Like it's the oldest thing in our history, even before we were considered Homo sapiens. There is evidence of marriage, monogamy, monogamous marriage existing for 3.5 million years. So we've been doing this for a really long time. We didn't all suddenly wake up and decide to give marriage and children the finger. It is more unusual for you not to want marriage and children. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. You should do what you want to do. However, it is unusual. Based on our evolutionary history, it is unusual for an entire species to stop wanting to do what they've been doing for millions of years. In the wild or in zoos, even if we were having a species, in a zoo and they stopped behaving according to what they've been doing for millions of years, we would think they were sick. So it is unusual. What's happening now is that women are now being told that having children and marriage, and men even, that's unusual. It's not unusual. We've been doing it for millions. Children, we've been doing forever. Monogamous marriage, where you're pair bonding with one person for the rest of your life, we have been doing that for at least 3.5 million years. That's a long freaking time. I don't know about you, but I think that's a long time, okay? So know that society, culture has instilled a lot of negativity, fear, limiting beliefs around marriage, being a wife, being a mother. But that is the thing that comes most natural to us. The average age for women to get married in hunter-gatherer societies was 14. Okay. For men, it was 20. So I'm not saying get married at that young, but I'm just saying we know how to do this. It is in our DNA. You are only second guessing yourself because that's what you've been told. Because marriage and children have been portrayed by movies and social media and sitcoms and commercials to be a hot freaking mess. And that's not how you're going to do it, okay? You're going to do it the way we've always done it, okay? The way we've always known to do it. And you're going to add your own flair and twist to it. You're going to make marriage and children sexy and happy and vibrant and high vibe because that's what women like you and I do. We add to and evolve things, okay? So this is the most natural thing. The other thing I want to say is that I have no religious or political agenda for you to get married or have kids. I think that this is how people create mistrust when someone is trying to give you guidance. I've been married for 15 years. I already had my kids. I'm past the age of, like I got 3 out of the 4 that Irfan and I wanted. We're thankful. So I don't have any religious agenda. You guys know God has kept me away from religion for precisely this reason, so that I can get more people back to God without the division that religion creates. So I'm just telling you what I would say to my daughter and what I would say to my younger self and the closest people to me, that if you want marriage and children, please don't let anyone scare you out of it. It's not like it's portrayed. Okay, that's just the self-aware Barbie level 10 cray version of it, or it's the basic babe version of it. The $1 million babe version is amazing, it's blissful, and that's the version that you are going to live. Okay, right now, I'm going to speak to children first, and then I'll give you guys some strategies for if you're in your 30s, what to do. Right now, this is my opinion. I believe that unstable people are not giving children a second time thought and just having children. They're laying down with any which man out of wedlock and just randomly making babies, not worrying about the bloodline, not worrying about who's going to provide for these kids or if they're going to have a stable environment. What I'm seeing is that those people just keep reproducing. So the argument that oh, your advice is going to hurt because not everyone's healthy enough to reproduce. Babe, the people that are not healthy to reproduce, they're reproducing. Okay? They're not even healthy to use birth control. Okay? They're not healthy enough to choose healthy partners. They're not healthy enough to choose partners that have their well-being in mind. They're getting pregnant. The people that are second guessing having kids are conscious people. They're kind people. They're good-hearted, kind-hearted people that are seeing this hot mess in the dating world and all of this political stuff and then going, oh my God, do I really want to bring a child into this hot mess? Or, disturb, but how are people calling me? Okay, sorry. I have do not disturb and people are still calling me. Let me see. Okay. Um, I think the conscious people are the one that we have confused, and those are the people choosing not to have babies. So if you are a conscious person, and if you're questioning whether you should have kids or not, you're a conscious person because unconscious people don't even think twice, and they just make babies wherever they feel like it, right? So here's the other argument that I hear. I hear if I have kids, it's going to take away my freedom. And my question is, what freedom? Like, what is the alternative? What are you thinking of doing with said freedom? Because let me just tell you that I coach people all the time that didn't do much with their freedom. And I know that I attract women that are the good girls, the good daughters, the good sisters. Like these are usually the women that did all the right things, right? When I coach women, these women are self-aware Barbies that went to university, have high-level graduate degrees, have good either corporate positions or have their own business. These are successful women that checked all the boxes and did all the things. So what did they really do with their freedom, right? Like they they used it somewhere, right? And then there's the opposite end. There's people that go buck wild with their freedom, and what they're calling freedom is them sleeping around, hookup culture, having faux relationships called boyfriend and girlfriend, completely messing with their brain and mental state, and then arriving into their late 30s or early 40s, and then all of a sudden having an awakening and seeing all the damage that they've created, and then having to do massive inner work. So freedom is only as valuable as your safety around it and your decision around it. Like you need a container. Uh, Imagine a world where we had unlimited amounts of freedom, but no safety, no guidance, no containment. We would not want to live in that world. Every single one of us needs some kind of a container around our freedom. We only feel free as long as we are safe. So I think going out into the streets and being used and abused by predatory men in the name of the feminist, sexual revolution or whatever they're calling it these days is not really freedom. So if you're using the freedom argument, freedom for what? I'm married, I have kids, I feel safe and free. I didn't feel safe when I was single. I wasn't happy. So I think that we've been planted all these things in our mind and it's gotten all twisted and it's not making any logical sense. Okay. So I'm not sure what we're looking for freedom from. I think it might be from limiting beliefs around what we think marriage will be or what we think child rearing will be. But those standards have been created by hot mess people. Those are not your standards. I thought that marriage and kids would happen spontaneously. I now see how these kind of things need a plan. Yeah, they definitely need a plan, babe. We plan this stuff out in my culture when our daughters are born and our sons too, because our sons are raised differently to become providers and healthy men, and our women are raised in preparation for this. So this is something definitely we need to prepare with. In fact, your comment makes me realize that I should do a quick recap of my feminine blueprint. So I believe that women can have it all, but not all at once. Women need seasons of life, and we need to honor those seasons. So I believe that from your teenage state until you graduate from university. So from like 16 to 22, you should not even be looking at boys. There is absolutely zero need for you to have a boyfriend. There is a zero need for you to be engaged in any sort of hookup, no sex. I think you shouldn't even be touching men. Like there's no point. There's no point to it, and only psychological damage. Stay away from men at this age. Your only job at this stage is to learn fun life skills. In this stage, go wide rather than going deep necessarily. Learn a whole different set of skills. Learn how to paint, learn math, learn science, learn nutrition, like learn different skill sets that are really shaping your brain right now and giving you high income skill set ideas for later. I'm going to get to that later. Okay. So have fun learning different skill sets. Boys are not fun right now. Men are not fun. They're just going to cause psychological and emotional damage. Stay away from them. This is not the stage to be dating. Okay. Because you're not getting married right now. The only purpose of dating is marriage. It's not to have sex. It's not to hook up. It's not to have imaginary titles. Okay. So, the next thing I want to say is the next stage after that, after 22, when you graduate from university, do not go into career. 20s is not a good time for women to go into their career. This is the time to start rotational dating. Rotational dating does not mean sex. It does not mean you going and hooking up at men or Netflixing. You're not even you're not to be in the presence of another man without other people around. So your dates cannot be where it's just the two of you. Dates are in public, okay? No, not in private. So this is the time that you're going to start rotational dating. Dating needs to be a kin activity. So you are looking at him, his friends, and his family. If he has a lot of shady friends, he's got shadiness in him. It's the morphogenetic field is a bitch. Don't mess with that, okay? So you know that saying that they used to say that you are the average of the five people that you hang out with? They've modified this and it's freaking scary. So they've actually modified this and they said that if you have a friend who has a friend that is either overweight or an alcoholic or something is shady with them, and you've never met this friend of a friend, you still have a higher chance of having their problems. Isn't that crazy? It just proves the importance of knowing the morphogenetic field. If he's got shady friends, watch out, okay? If he's got a dad that cheated or anything shady that's genetic, cheating is very much genetic. There is a cheater's gene. You can look it up. It's been identified. It's also the same genome that's responsible for gambling and alcoholism. So like a lot of risk-taking type of behaviors, that's genetic. Obviously, they can use epigenetics to overcome this, but if you're dating, why take the risk, okay? The stage after dating is marriage, okay? Not girlfriend and boyfriend, marriage. If you're doing this in your 20s, which you should be 23, 24 when you're getting married, at this time, after marriage, you're going to have a honeymoon period followed by an inner work period, okay? They could also overlap. This inner work period is where all of his childhood wounds, if he's got anything lingering, if you've got anything lingering, shows up and you guys heal each other as you pair bond. So this is a very important time for you. If you skip this timeline and start dating random people and bond with random people, by the time it's time for you to pair bond with your actual mate, you're going to have a lot of problems doing so. That's one of the reasons that I believe that the divorce rate is so high. So just something to keep in mind. So when you do this timeline in this way, you have a year or two to be with your husband, spend that time getting to really know him and doing that inner work before you have children. So the stage after that is going to be your baby stage. Okay, this is the stage where your husband is 100% providing. We're looking for a provider man, a healthy provider man, because I believe it is every woman's birthright to have a work optional lifestyle so that she can create the various seasons in her life. Okay. So this is not where you're worried about money. This is not where you're trying to do it. You're just there for the first 3 years of your child to bond with your child. This is not time you're ever going to get back. This is something I have a big regret around. With my oldest son, I was, with my pregnancy, I was going through a divorce. And when I had him, I was a working mom and full-time student at Northwestern University. I was not very present. My brother and sister and my siblings, I'm sorry, my siblings and my parents pick up the slack. They raised Armaan until he was 4. And I missed a very, very vital opportunity to bond with my child in those first 3, 4 years. I didn't get to really be there in Arman's life until he was 4 when I married Irfan. So if I can advise you as an older sister or as a mother or as an auntie, I would say that's not time you can ever get back. Okay. I can still hear my mom's hysterical crying when she suddenly woke up when I was 16 and realized that I was 16 and she had not spent any time with me. She missed my entire childhood. And she cried straight for 3 days. She locked herself up in a room and she regretted that until the day that she died. So spend that time with your children. Find a man that can give you that, okay? That's committed to that. Now, after your kids, your last one is a little bit older, they're going to start school. I don't recommend daycare. Daycare is a last resort. It's only for people in desperate situations where their partner has, God forbid, died, or for whatever reason, they cannot survive. Like it's life or death for them. That's when they use daycare. I don't recommend it for your children. If you're doing this right and you marry a provider, even if times are strict, like you guys know, when I was going through my baby rearing days, like I didn't have the biggest budget, right? We were on one income. Um, I didn't have this lifestyle. I got this lifestyle later, and that's okay. I would much rather have that than any other lifestyle. Like that's not something money can buy. Okay. So I'm grateful for that. As they're getting older, now I want you to start thinking about your career. I want you to start thinking about your business. I want you to think about your impacts. What are some of the things that you learned in when you were in your university days that like stick out to you? I'm going to give you an alternative to this too from my cousins, but hear me through all the way and then I'll give you some alternatives. So this is the time. Now, let me just tell you that when I was at Northwestern studying, a lot of the feedback I was getting from friends and family was, oh my God, what you're studying is useless. This is not employable. This is a useless degree, blah, blah, blah. Then, years later, when I became a stay-at-home mom, those same people were saying, oh, you're wasting your education and you're wasting your degree. And in my brain, I was thinking, what degree, right? You were laughing at this degree. You thought I was taking subjects that didn't amount to anything. So now you think I'm wasting my degree. And so I kept receiving those messages that you're going to be behind in life, that if something happened with your marriage, you're not going to be able to survive, blah, blah, blah. Years later, when I launched my business, I started making in the first couple of years more than most people make in their entire lifetime. So I'm not behind. I'm not. I got to do the things that I needed to do in the time that they made sense in the appropriate season of life. And then I passed those people anyways. So what's the point of hurrying up and rushing if you're going to not end up in the top 1% anyways, right? So I feel like I did everything wrong according to society. I wasted my degree, I got the wrong degree, and then I still ended up being in the top 1% within the top 1% anyways. And I got to raise my younger 2 kids, give them that important time that's so important for the children. That the first 3 years makes or breaks their entire life. So it is very important. And I got to at least spend 4 years all up until now with my oldest son. So I wouldn't trade that for anyway. So the people that thought I was getting the wrong degree, everyone wants my degree now. Everyone wants to study what I'm studying now. And for the people that said that I was going to be behind, I'm not. I'm not behind, okay? Because I did things in the time that they needed to be done, and I did them from a position of strength, not from a position of weakness. Your timeline as a woman is your power. Do not let anyone get you out of this. Like, your 20s is an important stage for a woman. It is really important. Don't screw this up. If you are in your 20s, make the most of this, okay? So the other thing I want to say is that I do have some, I'm going to get to 30s, don't worry, I'm just working through the timeline. I have some cousins that they went into careers that required more than a university degree. So they went into medical, one of them went into law. So with these women, what they did is they did their graduate school, like medical school or law school, right after high school. I'm sorry, right after university. And then when they were in their final year or in their residency, they immediately got married. So they didn't like start their whole career, but because their education took a lot longer than just a university degree, they were mindful of this and they didn't wait as long as some of my other cousins to have children because they had already used up that time in their medical school or in their law school. And by the way, they have thriving practices now. I don't know why we lie to women and tell them that if they don't use up their most fertile and like prime years to get the best mate, to have the healthiest children and all of that stuff for career building, which you can do later. Okay. I built this 8-figure career in 2017. I was 37. I started this career at 37, and that's okay because I'm still in the top 1%. So it doesn't matter, okay? Don't do it in appropriate timeline. That's like feminine intelligence. Think this through because I coach a lot of successful women in their late 30s, early 40s, and I can't tell you how many coaching calls I have been on where I didn't speak. I just listened to my clients sobbing because they couldn't get pregnant and because it was too late. So you can build your career in your 50s. You can build your career in your 80s. You can build your career in your damn 90s. You cannot have babies at that age. Just feminine intelligence, just logic, okay? So that's why I say remove emotion out of it. Um, I think okay, so if you're in your 30s and you spent your 20s building your career, here's some things that you need to look out for. These are going to be your biggest obstacles. Number one, if you spent your 20s building your career, your nervous system is too masculine and too independent now. And one of the biggest things that men report as a problem for dating women in their 30s is that they're too rigid, they're too set in their ways, they're too masculine, they're too independent. And that is the bigger problem than your age is this. This is what ages you. And actually, we have between Irfan and I, we have male cousins, and even Irfan has some friends that are dating, and they're in that age group where they're dating women in their 30s. And this is the number one complaint: too masculine, too rigid, not fun, too uptight. So your femininity gets leaked out because you're doing your career first. That's why secure your man, your family, your children first. You can have your career. There's no limitation on when a woman can have her career. If I choose to go to medical school today, I can do that. Okay. At 42, I can go to medical school. At 42, my chances of having a healthy pregnancy is lower. So do you see that we've been lying to women all this time? Okay. The other problem is with women in their 30s is they lose essential relationship skills. Remember how I talked about before that our brain wiring, our neural pathways have two different modes. They have, you can train it to be overly focused on material success, which I think is a good thing overall, but not just if you only have that, or you can train it to only focus on relationships. So Western women are overly focused on masculine achievements and masculine ways of viewing success. Eastern women are overly, into relationships. I like to be somewhere in between. So I am a new breed of women, and I like both sides. So there is a way to train your brain so that you have the relationship part, neural pathways, and you still have the success part. The thing is that if you focus too much on your career in your 20s, it's harder for you to be in a relationship in your 30s. We used to have this saying, and I think we still have this in my culture, and I think I misinterpreted it. So the saying is that the longer you wait to get married, the harder it is. The longer you wait to get married as a woman, the harder it is. I thought this meant because of your age, but that's not how it is, really. When I had an elder person explain it to me, they explained it so beautifully. And they said that it's more about you get set in your ways and you become very rigid and you become too independent. And later on in life, it's harder for both men and women that have spent too much time being single to be able to pair bond and spend that time together. So once I understood that, I actually very much agree with that. And again, that has nothing to do with your age. It just has something to do with your programming, like how you trained yourself to be. Okay. The other thing I want to say, let me see, I had a lot of stuff. Sorry, I'm giving you guys a lot of stuff today. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So here is the stuff now. Okay. By the way, for those of you guys that are interested in learning how you can retain that, like the relationship skills of communication with the masculine, all the men in your life, not just husbands, but dates, father, sons, brother. I'm doing a training on September 5th inside of the gut level emotional response course. So if you want to catch all the material in there and then show up for the September 5th class, the link is in the description box, and we will also put it in the comments for you. I think we also put it in the chat. Let me go ahead and drop that. Okay, here's the truth, ladies. My ladies in their 30s who want husbands, who want a husband and children, here's what I want you to realize. The way society is currently structured or going or whatever, we have inflated women's egos and made everyone believe that they are a 10. I don't think that serves us. So when I was rotational dating 15 years ago, I was approaching it like I'm a 5, but with confidence. Okay. So my mindset was there are women that are prettier than me. There are women that are more talented at being wives than me. There are women that are better skilled and have better wife behavior than I do. And then there are women that are not as pretty as me and not as skilled in all of those areas. And that I am somewhere in the middle, that I am average and a confident average, not like wah wah, I'm average, but like, yay, like, okay, I'm somewhere in the middle. And I was therefore dating the top 1% in average. So instead of going for like instead of seeing myself as a 10 and then going for the ultimate top 1%, these guys, by the way, are more likely to be unhealthy, have all sorts of issues. I was looking myself as in the middle of the grid as an average and then dating the top 1% in that group, which was matching my love list. I was part of a circle of friends, men and women, that were also dating around the same time. Some of them were divorced, some of them were never married, but they were around my age gap, some a couple of years younger, some a couple of years older. Some of the men and women in my group were dating as if they were tens and they were wanting the top 1% in the tens. They're still single. 15 years later, they're still single. Okay. So I learned a very important lesson from this. Strangely enough, the things that they wanted, I ended up getting. I had the dates with the multimillionaires. I had the dates with the healthy masculine providers. I had the dates with the kind-hearted, good men from good, solid backgrounds and families. They were having a hard time. And so just observing this, I realized that the top 1% men that we actually want, people like you and me, like normal people that like want someone just healthy, like, okay, just can you just be freaking healthy, right? And like have a decent job. Those guys have been trained to believe they're fives and sixes. They are not men. They are snapping selfie pictures and, putting shirtless pictures of themselves on the internet and believing that they are tens. And the healthy masculine men have been put in place by their father, brothers, cousins, male friends, colleagues, and they are healthy and they believe that they are fives and sixes. So if you want the healthy men, stop acting like a 10. Stop wanting a 10 and you're going to get the healthy person. This is something that just shocked me just observing this, not only in my own friend group, but now that I've had, the pleasure of having tens of thousands of students from all over the world, let me tell you, the people that view themselves as normal, average people get the best success. The people that are trying to go for the crazy, 10 people and they think they're 10, they get into these egos kind of relationships and situationships that go nowhere. So it just shocks me that my friends are those ones that were thought they were tens and were trying to get other tens are still single. So just saying, okay? I also believe that at some point you need to freaking make a decision. Like, are you in or are you out? I see a lot of duplicity in women when it comes to marriage and babies. You want it one moment and then you don't want it the other moment. And then you love your single life the next moment and then you're like, oh, I just want to get married. Freaking make up your mind. When we make a decision, something magical happens where we collapse all the other opportunities or options or potentials. So make a decision. Either you are getting married or you're not. Choose a side and then stick with it. If you're in duplicity, you are going to have a harder time. Okay. I have realized this in so many areas of my life, and I have a lot of success now because I go through my stages. I have my inner work. Like, I'm not going to make it seem like it's all perfect. But once I decide, it's all good. Okay. Once I decide, it's all good. The other thing I'm going to say is if you're in your 30s and you want children, date only 5 to 6 people. Yep, you heard me correctly. There are scientific formulas for this, by the way, where they have scientifically proven that too many options make us too confused. Back in the day, we had a small village and then access to a few other small villages, and we had maybe like 5 or 6 potential mates, and then we chose one and we married them, and then we died with that person, okay? We had less choices and we made up our mind. There's a wonderful book called The Paradox of Choice by Dr. Barry something or another. Sorry, Dr. Barry. Amazing book, highly recommend. Yes, less options are better. Have 5 to 6 people in your rotation. One of them will propose the one that's the best option for your love list. Choose this person. Choose this person based on similar values. All the research shows that values matter. Values are not hobbies. They are not looks. They're not chemical. Okay, they're not chemistry. They're values. How did this person view relationships? What are their family values? How do they view traditional roles? Are they okay with you being a stay-at-home mom while your children are young? All of these things matter. Okay. And then here's the next thing that I want you to do. Now, if you were in your 20s and you had, done it the timeline that I'm giving, which is fine, we bloom where we're planted, then you have some time to wait around for kids. Personally, if I was you, and snag that ring and get yourself pregnant, girl. Like, don't waste too much time in your 30s thinking it out. I cannot even believe when I hear women in their late 30s saying they desperately want kids and then saying they're going to wait a couple of years. Why? No, you don't have time to wait. After 35, you're considered a high risk pregnancy. And I already cited to you in the first video the infertility stuff. So, if I want something really badly, I stack my position from a place of power. So don't do that. I can't tell you how many coaching sessions I've had clients that thought they had all the time in the world because they were 33 or 34, and then 3 years of infertility, or they get in, God forbid, an illness, and time got like when I wanted to have all my kids under 30, I got RA, and Alina had to be born in when I was 33, right? Life happens, so plan accordingly. Do not waste last minute. I have had so many clients, oh my goodness, go through this that I I'm just not I'm not going to stay quiet now. I'm just going to tell you, if babies are important to you, if family is important to you, act like it. Act like it and make it a priority. Don't just sit around thinking that you're just going to have babies in your 40s. Like, some people are able to do that, and God bless, I'm so happy for you, but not everyone can, okay? So you want to plan accordingly, okay? Now, uh, if you're in your 30s and you have babies right away, then know that the inner work that you need to do as a couple after marriage may happen while you're pregnant, may happen when you already have kids. So what you want to do is sorry, I thought I heard Alexa. What you want to do is you want to prepare your partner and yourself. So in the time that you are pregnant, right after your marriage, if you're in your 30s, start throwing around a couple of concepts. God, there's so much I'm teaching in here. Oh my goodness. Okay. Kabibi said, this whole time working in legal, I felt like I had did everything backwards, having a family and kids, then college and career. Turns out I did it right. You did it right for a female. Now, if you were a man, yes, you would have done it incorrectly. But I don't know why we're telling women to act like men. Like, no, we're not men. We are different. So now what you want to do is you want to let your partner know about a couple words that I recommend. You want to tell them the concept of the couple bubble, okay? You want to give them the concept of a container. You want to give your partner the concept of limiting beliefs. I don't want to overwhelm you in this training. There's a lot more I can say about this, but I'll do future trainings. Let me know in the comments. But in your 30s, you don't have 2 years to wait around doing your inner work with your partner. You're still going to have to do this at some point, but start having your family. And while you're pregnant, start having these like really lighthearted, and I'll teach you how to say all of this in the communications training that I'm doing on September 5th in gut level, and how to communicate with him where you're not getting a mental response and you're not getting a wounded response. The wounded masculine response is the worst. I told my husband once, I do not like you when you are in your wounded masculine. When we were in that stage where we were triggering each other after marriage, oh my goodness. You want to get a response that is more playful, more light, and in that stage, you can kind of start saying, here's why. Right now, you might not have 2 years to just devote to inner work because you're in your 30s. You need to speed up the baby process, okay? But you want to give him enough verbiage around inner work that when you are either one of you in a triggered state during the pregnancy, after the baby is born, you can do a timeout by saying, hey, babe, I think we're triggered right now. Maybe this isn't the best time to talk. Or, hey, babe, I think we're having a container issue. Like, we just had this baby and, we might be having a container issue. So when you have this verbiage around your union, this is really helpful. Also, in my upcoming book, by the way, I just did this. So I'm on the second draft and I just have one chapter left of the second draft. So I'm so happy. Like, I'm so happy. In there, I gave you a blueprint of having your 10 commandments for marriage. So these are something that you want to sit down with your partner and create when you are in a happy state, when things are good. You do not want to try to create this when things are wrong. So let me give you a very embarrassing and personal example. I did recently share this somewhere. Maybe it was in another training, but yes, it was in one of my courses. One of our commandments in our marriage was that no matter what happened, we were going to give each other. Irfan calls this, I'm blanking out on it, sorry. The goodness of the goodness of intention? Goodwill. So my husband says it's basic. I'm just gonna explain it. Okay, it basically means that no matter what happens, you're not to approach the other person as if they have bad intentions. So so the parameters for this commandment in our marriage was that if we're triggered or we're having a moment of mistrust, it is best to go to our partner and be like, "Hey, I'm triggered by this. Could you please explain this to me?" Versus attacking them by assuming that they are a bad person or that we don't, like, we can't trust them or that they have bad intentions. This was so useful because I remember, I think this was like 4 or 5 months into our marriage, so embarrassing. And I was like having an entire container issue meltdown and just like in my basic babe, totally just like blaming all the stuff on Irfan, just throwing it at him. He was so confused. And then I said something, and he was like, "Hey, you just broke one of our commandments. We had decided that we were never going to accuse each other from a position of like bad intention." And I remembered that even in that triggered state, it snapped me out of it. And then I was like, you know what? You're right. We did agree to that, right? So then I said, I need a moment. And like, I calmed myself down. And then I said, oh, when you said this and this and this in front of your aunt, like, I felt disrespected. Like, what do you mean by that? And then when he explained it to me, it was like the complete opposite. Like, he was embarrassed of something his aunt had said in front of me. And so he was trying to mitigate that, which made me feel it was a freaking misunderstanding and it was a hot mess. But if we didn't have one of those 10 commandments, our marriage, like we would have been fighting dirty. So having these 10 commandments is like God's lifeline when you are triggered. Because remember that when we are triggered, we do not think straight. So, just to kind of give you an example, when we are triggered, our amygdala is activated, we're in fight or flight, and we perceive a saber-toothed lion chasing us. So, your blood thickens and it becomes like bitter because it assumes that something is going to bite you. And if it's going to bite you, it wants to be thick and it wants to be bitter. Also, because of this, there's like blood that rushes to certain parts of your body and your organs to sort of like protect the extremities, like the important parts of your body. It's trying to protect you. So all of these like biochemical processes and hormonal processes are happening inside your body, which distorts your perception of reality. So, for example, if I'm triggered and we're driving in a car and I'm sitting here and Irfan's sitting here and he's driving and he's kind of glancing at me side to side and I'm glancing at him side to side because he's driving and we're both triggered, our brain registers human face as an animal face, as a threatening face. So I know this is like fascinating stuff to me. You guys said you guys like the nerdy stuff, so I'm bringing it. But this is why I do not talk to triggered people. Let me tell you how many people get triggered and want to have a conversation with me. And I'm like, nope, I will not talk to a triggered person because whatever I say, they will distort. Their brain, hormones, like all the stuff happening inside their body is creating distortions. They cannot hear things correctly because what they're hearing for is the sounds of a saber-toothed tiger, not like human verbiage. remember that communication has like verbiage, like communication, this type of communication has only existed for 40,000 years in human evolution. So it's not that long. That's why we're not very good at it. And they're trying to listen for threats in the environment. My words are going to be misconstrued as threats. So having these commandments in our marriage saved us from fighting dirty, basically, in a triggered state. Okay, so let's see. Um, okay, while you are now embarking on this marriage, on this journey, commit to becoming a 10 together. So remember when I said that assume that you are a 5 and then marry a 5 or a 6? Well, here's the thing. I believe that I can turn any 5 or 6, any one of you guys, any man into a 10 through evolutionary science, diet, nutrition, fitness, sleep patterns, thought technology. Like, I believe that anyone could hack their body. Biohacking is called, their performance, and all of these things through the technology and information that we currently have available. So commit to that, okay? You don't have to start off as a 10. Your partner doesn't have to start off at a 10. Neither one of you has to start off as a multimillionaire, but you can become the best version of yourself, the best looking, the fittest, the kindest, the most conscious, the richest in your marriage, in the union, containment, sacredness, safety, and pleasure of your union. You can have all the things that you desire, okay? Um, Having said all of that, let me say one more thing and then I'll answer questions. There is no guarantee of happiness in life other than this one thing. The only thing I have found as a guarantee of your happiness is your decision. Miserable people will be miserable whether they're single or married. Miserable people will be miserable whether they choose to remain childless or have children. Happy people will be happy in any of those situations. So this is not about, oh, if I don't get married, I'm going to be miserable. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you want to have a family and marriage and children, which is the most natural thing for Homo sapiens, then do it. Don't be in fear. Don't let people talk you out of it. Don't think that it's going to be more difficult than it needs to be. It will be according to how society wants to do it. Like if you want to be a man and pretend like you're a man and then try to have a family and raise one, yes, it will be difficult because you are not a man, you are a woman. But if you remain a woman and set your life up accordingly, girl, you're gonna have the best time doing it. Like it will fulfill you so much, so much. The last stage in my feminine blueprint is the wealthy woman era. And that's the stage that I'm in now. And I get to have my family, I had my kids, I get to enjoy all of the blessings that come from that. And I get to have you. I get to have my business. I get to have my books, my courses, my service, my legacy. You get to have it all, but you don't have to cram it all up in your 20s. So that is my message for today. Let me see what you guys were saying. Oh, I missed some. Welcome to the Level Up Queens, MP. Thank you for supporting my channel. Can't wait for the training for 40s. Absolutely. Now that I've only got one chapter left in my book, like, girl, oh my, I have to tell you guys something. So, oh my God, I am so annoyed at this. I have to vent for a second. So, since I started writing this book on July 15th, what has been like 6 weeks, I don't know, 6, 7 weeks, this very annoying thing has been happening to me. I have been waking up 2 to 3 times a week at 5 a.m. in the freaking morning. It's like 4 something every time, like 4:56. And I can't go back to sleep. I am not an early riser. I usually wake up at 8 a.m. just to give you guys the truth. And I've been waking up at like 4:56, can't go back to sleep. I don't drink caffeine anymore. You guys know this. And the urge is go write the book, go write the book. So I come into my office, I type the book, and the book just flows out. If I try to force myself to go to sleep, I can't sleep. If I try to write at any time other than this time, it doesn't come out. I need to finish this damn book, get it in your hands, so I can go back to getting up at 8 a.m. like I'm used to. This is freaking annoying. So I'm probably going to get to the training on the 40s later this week after I'm done with that chapter. I'm trying to have boundaries with myself that I get done things that I promised myself I would get done. So it is coming. I'll also do one for 50s and beyond. Okay. Thank you for the super chat, Vay. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to Level Up Queens. Any advice for someone that missed out on the 18 to 22 period? I am 23 with no degree or skills, and neither am I wired for relationships. So, if you watched my first training, then you know that it is important for us to feel like that we are bringing something to the trade. It is just something we evolved towards millions of years. So, what I would personally do, 23 is very, very, very young. I would say go and get skilled in some kind of a trade and possibly something that also wires your brain for relationships. So you don't have to do it this way. I'm just kind of throwing out ideas for you, just brainstorming with you. But something where you're working with other people, something that involves giving in a selfless way, something that involves attunement to other people's needs. I'm thinking maybe volunteering at a nursing home, working with small children. All of these things are going to start laying those neural pathways in your brain that help with relationships. So training for success. So if there's two modes, success and relationships, success is independence, relationships is interdependence. Success is, um, achievements like masculine achievements, doing outcomes, time bound, accountability. Relationships is more connection, compassion, empathy, service, these kind of things. So as a woman, if you're similar to me where you want both types of success in relationships and in career, you have the ability to build both. And that's something that I have done in my life, is that I did want both. um, it's nothing wrong with just having, relationships if that's what you want. The people that I've seen the unhappiest, also this is stats, numbers of most alcohol abuse and antidepressants in women are single women over 40. So um, there we're just not wired for this, ladies. Of course you can be happy. I personally don't know any women that are single and just thriving, like thriving, not just pretending, but like you can see that glow. I don't know any personally. I do know a couple of men that are older and single. They wanted to get married, they thought they were tens, looking for tens, it didn't work out. I have know a couple friends that are happy, but they've surrounded themselves with like a lot of friends. Like they have like obscene levels of friends. Like I would not be able to keep up with that, but and they look somewhat happy. So I have seen that. So I would say there's ways around it, but if you want family, I wouldn't dwell on it. I would just go get it. Mina, don't you think that maybe a 22-year-old girl will miss the opportunity to become a self-aware Barbie if she focuses on dating? So self-aware Barbie is university. That's where it starts, babe. High school and university. It doesn't start with career. By the time you're in career, you're in the really negative state of a self-aware Barbie, where it's hard for you to come back into relationships. That's where you're really going to struggle. We're trying to catch them before they get into the corporate world. That's going to be a disaster. Here's the thing. You can't snuggle your corporate job at night. Your corporate job isn't going to nurse you back to health and make you soup when you're sick and affirm you and cheerlead you and be your best friend. Like they don't care about you. You're cheap labor, okay? If you're a single woman, you're cheap labor. So put your priorities straight. You can go get do you think I can't get a corporate job right now? Like there isn't enough money in the planet that would make me, but do you think I can't get one? Of course I can, right? I can do that at any time. But I needed to have kids by a certain age. That's not negotiable. So plan accordingly. She is now self-sufficient just after finishing college. No, babe, that's plenty. Alina is 9 and she's already enough self-aware Barbie. Trust me, we have plenty of that going on. I do not recommend, especially if you're just gonna go sit in an office somewhere, not worth it. Absolutely not. You do not need to be doing that in your 20s. There's no benefit of that. No benefit whatsoever. You can have a job if you need to support yourself, but treat it like a job and not like your everything. That's what men mean when they say women are unrealistic with expectations. The thing is that men have evolved to tell each other the truth. They respect honesty and hierarchy. Women have evolved to lie to each other. We don't like to ruffle any feathers. We don't like to accept each other. So men are more realistic in where they stand. Yes, I resonate with the struggle of duplicity. Make up your mind, girl. Choose a side. I fear that giving birth will change my body and my husband won't find me attractive. This thought has held me back from pregnancy, but I want kids. Yeah, most women I know actually look better after having kids that work out and take care of themselves. So you'll be fine. A lot of the women that are single or don't have kids that go out drinking and partying and do all this stuff like destroy their bodies and age themselves way more than women with children. I actually have a better body after having kids than I did in my 20s. Actually, when I show my kids my pictures from my 20s, they're like, "Oh my God, mom, you look so much older than you look now." So stop this nonsense and go get your babies. You can fix your body with workout and nutrition. The gut level response course is for any woman that wants to be able to communicate better with men and have the gut level emotional response. Doesn't matter if you're single, married, dating, a daughter, sister, anyone, including bosses, everyone. What are important steps I need to take now as a 23-year-old that missed out? Oh, I think I already answered that. Oh, Jacqueline, how I hope I pronounced that your name correctly. Welcome to Level Up Queens. Let me see. I'm also 23 and second, yep, I think I answered that. Thank you, Mina. This is pure gold. I just joined. Awesome. Hello, Starlight. Welcome to Level Up Queens. What are some examples and ways a healthy man will view relationships? So I have other trainings on this. I don't want to get too much off the topic of what we're talking about right now. So I have other trainings on this for sure. The man I'm dating is going to propose soon. He is in the process of selling his home to upgrade for me. I'm having container issues. I feel apprehensive. What course would help with this container issue and new life phase? So I have a whole course called Femme Fortune Container, and it helps you expand your container. A lot of women say they want all these things, and the minute they get them, they start sabotaging. So this is something really to work on. Like learn to normalize your blessings quicker. And also, if you're engaged or married, introduce your partner to this terminology. So at least if you're triggered, you can tell him we're having a container issue. How to maintain confidence when you are in your 30s and aware of your timeline and rotational dating. So that's one of the biggest issues with waiting until you're in your 30s to date is that our there is a esteem meter in our psyche that gauges how it gauges the feedback that we are receiving from the environment according to our mate value. And as you get older, and because you focus too heavily in your career in your 20s, that's what people are telling women to do, which is a bad idea. You become too masculinized, and then the feedback that you get back from men is one of rejection, and that goes into your esteem meter, feeds into your internal audience, and destroys your self-esteem. So it's a huge psychological sort of evolution-based feature that we've had for millions of years. It's very difficult to navigate this. My best advice for you is to go and date men which think you are a queen. Do not date guys in your range. Do not think that you're a 10 and that date 10s. Think of yourself as a 5 and then date other 5s that treat you like you're a queen, because then the esteem meter will pick up good cues and not rejection cues. It will receive attraction cues, which will feed into your internal audience, which will then feed into your self-esteem. So it is a very delicate process. And this is why, as a woman gets older and she's single and she's dating, her self-esteem would plummet because the esteem meter is picking up on these very subtle cues. So let me give you an example. Irfan's friend, he went through a divorce and he's dating right now, and he's in his 50s, and he is dating women in her like 40s, right? And his number one complaint right now is they're so masculine and rigid and just bitter. They're not like, they're showing up on dates like this, like snippy, like ready to like jump, like asking him if he's ready for marriage, and he's like, it's our first date. Right? He is ready for marriage, but they're bringing this very nasty, rigid energy. They're not pleasant to be around. They're not like making themselves attractive. They're just showing up with angry, bitter, stale energy, and then asking him if he's ready for marriage. What do you think his answer is? The thing is, we know this guy. He is ready for marriage, but he's like, I don't know, right? On these dates. And so when Irfan was telling me this, I'm like, oh my God, tell him not to say that. And he's like, no, they're just so mean. He said that that's what he wants to say. And I'm like, oh, he's like making the situation worse because now that is going into their esteem meter. And it's, think of relationships as this dynamic thing. And it's not them or us, it's the dynamic that we're creating together. So date in a group and a age range where you are treated with high esteem and you are treated like a 10 in that group, so that the right sequence and messages are being received. I'm 23 and I want to meet a good man and get married, but I don't know where to look. Okay. So do not look on, someone DM'd me on Instagram saying, I'm on Tinder, can't watch, meet any good men. I'm just like, oh my God, babes, stay off of Tinder and these kind of dating uh, things that are apps that are made for hookups. These apps are designed to keep you single. They're businesses, they have algorithms that purposely keep you depressed, lonely. They target you in really unethical ways. Stay away from these websites. How you're going to meet men is, if you're going to choose websites, I did meet my husband on a website. It was a ethnic website, a very small niche website for Indians, Pakistanis, and Middle Eastern people, like super niche, okay? So it only had Muslims and Hindus on it. Like it was that niche. Then it's fine. The best thing you can do is meet through family, friends, extended like groups. So people that you know through organizations, your church group, your sisters, friends, your people that you met where you volunteer. Your mom might have people. So most of the men in my rotation were introduced to me through my mom and my best friend at the time. And then I met Irfan on this website. And then, so it was like 5 or 6 men. So you don't need like 20 men to date. The more you date, the more confusing it will get. So choose a small group, find people that you know and respect, and ask them to introduce you to eligible people. Mina, should I delay dating if I feel like I need more inner work to attract a healthy man? I just turned 31 and started inner work in March. I'm going to start dating next year. I want 2 kids. No, you need to start dating now. Okay? Unless you're like mentally unstable, which I don't think you are, but like you need like to be like you're not like like tire slashing like that kind of, you're fine. You will do your inner work with your partner. No matter what, you can only attract the type of partner that is going to be your match, and then you have to do inner work together anyways. You'll have plenty of time to do inner work later. If you're 31 and you want 2 kids, like, no, ma'am, I would start now. You're ready. Start dating. What are you thinking? Like, dating takes time too. Before 30s goes by so fast. It goes by so fast, okay? Don't, it feels, it's an illusion that you think you have a lot of time in your 30s. You often have less than you think. I'm 28 and just moved to a new city. I still have a lot of inner work to do, but also I'm feeling my inner clock tick. What's your recommendation on tackling this and trying to meet high value men? You're going to be doing inner work for the rest of your life, like I am, as most people in my community, because we like inner work, we like personal development, we like self-awareness. It is just who we are. Start dating. 28 is start dating. Okay. In my culture, it's like at 28, whether you like it or not, people will be introducing you to people. Okay. The only women in my culture that have trouble is if they make it past 30 and then they get bitter. There's nothing more attractive to a man than a bitter, angry woman. Like, it doesn't matter your beauty, how you actually look, it will make you an instant one. So, have if you're in your 30s, the best advice I can give you, babe, is keep your energy light. Do forgiveness exercises, do letting go exercises, watch my videos, read books. Like, the lighter you are, the less triggered you are, the better it's going to be. Do like self-care, affirmations before you go on dates, because more than your age, what a man will be concerned about when you're in your 30s is your rigidness, how masculine you are, and if you've lost your femininity, that's what they're really afraid of. What to do if I found a kind provider man, but he is in his wounded masculine and communicate well? Doesn't communicate well or communicates well? Hi, Mina. Thank you for the training today. I love how you're against dating um, via app. Can you recommend where the best for women to meet men in her 40s through friends and family member. My number one advice, this is what we follow in my culture, is we need to know that we have access to the guy's intentions, his family, his job. In my culture, when a proposal comes from a man's family, the uncles will go and like drive by the guy's work or drop in and say, let me give you an example. One of my relatives was, looking to get engaged to this guy, and he has. So Irfan had asked him, where do you work? And so he said the company, and Irfan knew the company, and Irfan happened to be in the area and called him and said, I'm waiting outside. Are you available for lunch? And he was like, oh my God, yes, I'm coming. Like, he knew what was going on, right? And so my husband got a tour of his office, his job, met his colleagues, So the women will meet, like, the female family members. They'll see how the other daughters-in-law are being treated, how the kids are being treated in the home, what is their routine like, how do they speak to the women in the home, what are their views on money, on family, on privacy, on boundaries, and the men will investigate the guy's like lineage, his job, his character, his integrity, his reputation. So you want to involve your kid, your friends, your family. By the way, I got a lot of feedback from people saying from my other training that what if your family is not someone that you feel confident introducing to a potential family? I can really relate to this. So I have some very, very savage tricks. I don't think I feel comfortable sharing them on YouTube because I know they will be misinterpreted, but a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. So I did my best and it worked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that training to probably the savage feminine as I feel like it belongs there. I'll give you a couple of hints here. But if you feel like your family is going to screw this up, you can limit which family meets them and for how long. And you can also coach your family. So I'll give you a quick example. I had, here were my options. One side of my family would have spent their entire time trying to convert any potentials into Islam because they are just crazy Orthodox Islamic people. And the other side would have been asking potentials for money. So yeah, that was my options. So I was pretty savage and I created a situation that needed to be created and only the best light was shown. I guess I had marketing skills in me from the beginning, and I will share some of those in the Savage Feminine soon. But there is a way that you can make this work, okay? you have to learn how to use what you have and market it well and use it to the best of your abilities, because that's just life. You said doesn't communicate well. Okay, so my husband did not communicate well either when I met him. Most men will not be able to communicate at a woman's level because uh, they've done studies in babies as young as 10 minutes old out of the womb, like fresh out of the womb. And the female babies make more sounds than the male babies. Like this is scientific. Men and women, babies, even in babies, just communicate differently. Most men, according to you, will not be good at communication. I am teaching you how to better communicate with men on September 5th in gut level emotional response. It's gonna be, and the men that seem like they're really savvy communicators, typically, I'm not saying always, typically are predatory because they've practiced a lot on other women. That can usually be a red flag. Most healthy men are not going to be able to match a woman's level of communication. Thank you, Mina, for this great video. It's life-changing. You're so welcome, Linda. I was so moved by the response that I got on yesterday's training. Like, it was just so delicious. Was it yesterday or the day before? May have been Saturday. It was just so I had asked you guys for thumbs up to prove to me that you want more of this. I asked for comments. You guys delivered. So I'm gonna be doing more. I'm gonna ask the same. The more thumbs up this gets, the more comments this gets, the more I'm going to be making more. I want to make one for women in their 40s. I want to make one for women in their 50s and beyond. I want to make one for women that are undecided about children, like specifically for that. I want to make one on how to make child um, rearing fun, like how to ungrade from society's chaos and like really enjoy these things. So yes, I can't wait. Thank you, amazing Teeny. Welcome to Level Up Queens. I'm gonna keep going until my kids are off from school, so we have a little bit more time. Any other questions coming up? I came in late, but Mina, you always deliver. So thankful. Thank you, babe. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. I think I got the ones exactly. My single best advice for you is something I've already said repeatedly, but it's so important that I want to say it again. Keep emotion out of it. Stop being up in your feelings. Stop being overly emotional. Dating for women is not an emotional game. It's a logical game. It's a rational game. Dating for men is highly emotional, so you cannot be in your emotions, okay? Don't be in your emotions. Oh my God, Irfan got these really yummy treats. And I kind of hate it because they're so good and I'm not supposed to be eating them. You know, when you don't get your sleep because, like, the book wakes you up at 5 a.m. to write, then you're more likely to eat carbs. You know how you crave carbs more? Mina, please, any advice? I'm 24. I don't know if I want children or not. I've never been sure. Write down why you don't want kids, where the unsurety is coming from. And you'll notice that most of it is because society paints kids to be these evil minions that are going to ruin your life. But here's the thing, they keep you single, stuck in dead end jobs, sleeping with plenty of men, and getting all this emotional damage. But kids are going to ruin your body. Like, what about all the men you're sleeping with that are ruining your body? I'm not talking about you, I mean, in general. Like, look at the alternatives. Look at the alternatives. What are you saving your body for? Who are you saving your body for? So you can be attractive for all these random people, you know? So write all this stuff down and you'll start seeing it's all a scam. The childbearing one is highly want. Okay, you want the how to raise the kids? That one's coming. Thank you, Astrid, for the super chat. Sorry, I don't usually eat on camera. I'm super conscious about that for some reason. Hopefully you guys can't hear me. That'd be really weird. Will you be doing training for single women in their 50s and 60s? Yes. I want to go in order. So this was 30s. I want to do 40s next and then 50s and beyond. It's similar for 50s and beyond because that's like your party days. So it's a little bit different. I can always count on you to deliver realness. Thank you, babe. I appreciate that. I'm trying to get more and more real without like sugarcoating anything. I've always been that way in some regards, but I'm like getting better at it too at the same time. So thank you. I'm gonna open up the chat now. I think I gave plenty of time to my members. I want to honor my members first, but let me open it up. I have a couple more minutes. I think I can do it live. I've done it before, right? Okay. Hmm. I think I did it. A man I'm dating, and I have a super emotional, spiritual, telepathic connection. I've cried with him twice because I feel so big with him. Should I try not to cry with him? Does he match your love list? I something is telling me this is probably a chemical relationship, which are kind of dangerous. Um, are you going to find a man that's super emotional and spiritual, masculine enough later? Like, does he have enough dark masculinity to be a protector and provider? Because I know we say we want these kind of men, but then we feel kind of unsafe with them as well. So, how much of your love list does he match? Is he top 1% of your love list? Thank you guys. Thank you. I would like to keep it to this topic, 20s. I'm sorry, 30s. We're doing 30s right now. Yeah, I'm gonna do a topic about women who are undecided about kids. I'll give you guys some homework around it too in that training. Thank you, AP. I appreciate that. Hi, Mina. I'm 27 and I feel panicked hearing this because I want marriage and kids. So, panicked is an emotion. Remove emotion out of it and get to your strategy. What's gonna be your strategy? I don't, have you noticed that I'm not an overly emotional person? And I'm able to like move forward and like use strategy and like be in my logic. So I don't do well with like freaking out over this stuff. Get your emotion out of it, sit down and plan. Plan accordingly. Women don't do well with being overly emotional in dating. Is your love list the best way to know if your relationship is chemical, as you said? That and do you obsess over him? You can't stop thinking about him. You have sex with him before marriage, even though he hasn't, claimed you in marriage yet. All of this stuff can be signs that there's something chemical going on. Chemical attraction is different than finding a mate and then doing inner work together. Chemical is usually not fixed by inner work. It either fizzles out or creates this crazy run and chase dynamic and stuff like that. Oh, Lily, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't realize that some of the countries don't allow that. That's weird. I wasn't aware. The reason I don't open up the chat now is because it goes by too fast. And secondly, I want to honor my members, obviously, but it just goes by so fast that I can't even read it. Mina, you materialized my theories about the greatness of women. Thank you for showing me my power. Absolutely, Alex. That's what I love doing the most. I'm so happy. How does a woman's timeline change if she has kids when she's 31 to 33? I'm going to do another video for single moms. If you have kids out of wedlock, that is a bigger problem. That's why I don't, if you don't have kids, please don't have kids outside of marriage. It's just so much issues, trauma, hardship, generational stuff. Don't do it. I don't believe in having kids outside of marriage. Bad idea for everyone. It's bad for you. It's bad for men. It's bad for your kids. It's bad for society. Just don't do it. If you are divorced or God forbid your husband passed away, I can give you advice for that. That was my experience, and I can give you really good advice for that. So I'll do a video on that as well. Let's see. Hi, Mina. Thank you for all you do. In my early mid 30s, got out of a 4.5-year relationship that was toxic, single for 2 years, started rotational dating 7 months ago. Any advice? Do not mention to anyone that your last relationship was toxic. Don't ever use that word in front of other men. They actually use how you talk about your exes to gauge if you're emotionally healthy or not. I would like just say you weren't aligned, it didn't work out if you must mention it. Do not ever use the word toxic in your vocabulary. You'll be fine. Niece is 18, started dating a 28-year-old man. How to approach the conversation with her so she does not go the wrong path. So my first bit would be to see is does your niece see you as someone that is in her mind worthy of taking advice from? Because you never want to give unsolicited advice where it will be ill received. So I would say build a relationship with her where you can be very honest and share these kind of things. I can share these kind of things with my kids because I've cultivated a really sacred and like long-standing trusting relationship. And even then, I always give them plenty of disclaimers, and things like that. And I respect their decision at the end of it. Mina, what would be the male blueprint timeline? I have that in the Divine Union course, babe. I don't haven't done a video on it because I don't really have a large male audience. Maybe I will. I'll think about it. As an 18-year-old, I want to thank you, Mina, for putting your wisdom out there. I'm waiting for marriage and will be sure to get married and have kids in my 20s. You inspired me so much. Thank you, Charlie. You know, you are most ready in your 20s to have kids, actually, contrary to what other people say. The longer you wait, the less ready you feel because the more doubt creeps up, the more your esteem meter has gotten bullshit advice from society, the more masculinized you are. So you are most primed emotionally, sexually, reproductively, in all ways to actually be better at having babies and raising them in your 20s and later, contrary to what people believe. So that is what I strongly believe. And I love that you're saving yourself from marriage. Do not get hooked up in this hookup culture, boyfriend, girlfriend crap. Do not move in with a guy. I wouldn't even move in with a guy after engagement. Marriage or nothing. Marriage or nothing. That's the deal. Where does getting postgraduate studies like MBA fit in your feminine life blueprint? If you want kids plus MBA, how do you make that happen if in late 20s? So in the United States, you can get an MBA, like you could be 90 and you can sign up for an MBA, but you cannot have kids when you're 90. So your MBA can happen in your 50s, in your 60s, in your 70s. You can do it when your kids, your last one is um, college age, or I'm sorry, school age. Like I'm going back to school now. So plenty of MBAs are the easiest things to fit in. Babies, gotta plan them better. Thank you, Mina, for your recent trainings. I absolutely love your honesty and direct language. As a 55-year-old divorced mother to my 22-year-old daughter, these are priceless. Thank you, Stephanie. What a beautiful, I think, age for both of you guys to be learning this. And by the way, I love that both of you guys have angel numbers in your age right now. 5522, love that. The other thing I want to say, I think I started saying this in the beginning, but I feel like women are really craving guidance and not the kind of faux, like politically correct guidance. We are craving people that really stand for something. We really have created this society where people are afraid to say anything. They're afraid to take a stand. They're afraid to choose a side. You know, either they're extremists or like they're kind of like in no man's land. And I think we need more healthy people that have the lifestyle that you want, being honest. So I have made this a vow to myself that I'm not going to give you guys any different advice than what I would give to my younger self, my sister, my mother, or my own children. So that's what I'm trying to do more and more now. It has been a work in progress for me. And so thank you for that feedback. I needed to hear that. Hey, Mina, just turned 31 yesterday. Happy birthday. I have a rotation of 3 to 4 men. Perfect. I'm liking this so far. The man that meets my love list is a provider, is 31. Is it a good idea to say yes if he proposes or find someone else? If he matches your entire love list and he's very much interested in you in proposing, go for it. Okay. Here's the thing. If you're going to marry someone close to your age, the younger you are, the better it is. So if you're going to marry someone close to your age, you're better off doing it younger, I would say. So here's the thing with men too, they have a timeline. So if you're going to do it at 31, know that he is not going to hit his prime earning years until later, but by that time, you'll have time to pair bond with him. So maybe it's not going to start off with you having, you know, mansions and all these other things, and maybe you want not even want that. But just know that, like for example, when my mom was judging Irfan's income when I was like, dating him based on the other prospects on my rotation, I reminded her that Irfan was 36, about to be 37 at the time, and 37 is not the prime earning age, okay? So to give you an idea, my husband now earns in a month what he used to earn in the whole year when we met, because now he's in his early 50s and he is in his prime earning years. So you have to also understand that depending on the age, they're not gonna instantly have the income that you think you want. Thank you. Someone said you could, Jacqueline said I could eat on camera. Thank you. This has been so good. I'm so happy. So I wanted to make this content, and then I'm like, it's too much. It's too politically incorrect. I'm gonna offend so many people. And then I make it, and like all of you freaking love it. All of you love it. I think we had like one negative comment on like someone who was obviously triggered on our other video. Like for someone that's saying this level of political incorrectness, I'm shocked. I feel like we were all hungry for this level of honesty. I really believe that we as a society are craving people that just can decide on something and take a stance. Thank you, Elena. What age group of men should we go for women in their early 30s? You want to go for someone that sees you as a baby. Okay? Like not as a baby, but like to him you're like a young, like he thinks he's getting a young one, okay? Men are evolutionarily wired. This is not something they're choosing into. They're wired to seek youth. Yes, some men marry older women. I've had plenty of clients that are married to younger men, but typically there's something else that a woman is bringing that that man wants. Okay, sometimes it's wealth, other things. So, evolutionarily speaking, we're not wired for that. So, if you're in your 30s, you want to get someone in his 40s that thinks that he is getting a catch, okay? He doesn't necessarily want someone in her 20s as a wife because that's too much of an age gap, right? He wants someone that is young and vibrant and feminine, and so you can make that. So instead of being kind of like, you know, instead of a if you're 31, instead of having a 35-year-old treat you like meh, have a 40-year-old treat you like a queen. So I think having a little bit of age gap puts you in a better position. Is this true of everyone? Of course not. There's other things. Don't take anything I'm saying as only one thing. Like, learn to think for yourself, receive information, and then compute it through your own psyche, your own mind, your own values, and then create something that works for you. Do not take my words as like I have to do it this way. Okay, that's not a good way of consuming anyone's advice or information or anything like that. So if all of your love list matches with someone and they are a healthy man, they're willing to provide, they're ready to provide, they have a stable job, they come from a good family, and he happens to be your same age, and yet he's providing, go for it. Go for it, okay? Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. However, most women are not going to be emotionally and psychologically at the same level as their same age man. To give you an example, in our Homo sapien and hunter-gatherer tribes, the average female age was 14 for getting married. Obviously, I do not recommend this. I'm just giving you an example. And the average age for men was 20. That's a 6-year age gap. So age gap was an important part of it because the man was a fully grown man that knew how to hunt. She wasn't marrying a 14-year-old boy, right? So there was an age gap. Any advice for women over 35 but not 40? Get it on as quick as you can, girl. When I hear about 35-year-old women getting married and then wanting to wait a couple years before having kids, I think they are completely delusional. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that to yourself? You're already in the high risk for pregnancy. Why would you push the envelope like that? Why would you put your future children at risk that way? Don't do that. So I would say you're going to have a timeline where you're going to get married and have kids, if that's what you want. Mina, does being a single mom lower your mate value according to men and their wiring? It depends if you had the children out of wedlock or if you were a victim of unfortunate circumstances. If you were married and you got a divorce or your partner died, God forbid, that actually doesn't do anything for your mate value as long as you have the other things intact. Especially like a lot of Irfan's cousins married single moms. Irfan obviously married a single mom. Like even in a traditional culture like mine, that's not looked down upon. Now, if you have children out of wedlock, that can be an issue for a lot of men because they're judging you based on the fact that you gave your body and your womb to someone without any legal, spiritual, emotional, financial commitment from them. So they are judging you from that. That's why I recommend, and I know this is considered shaming women and stuff, and so we don't say it, but what's happening is that we're allowing younger women to think it's okay. So I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but I must say this so that the younger women that are in a position not to do that, don't do that. Don't put yourself in a position like that. I want you to have a great life experience. I want you to be emotionally well. I want you to have caring family and friends around you, have babies, have a beautiful life, have a beautiful career, have a beautiful home. Don't set yourself up in the one down position where you have to work harder to have the things and the life that you want. Thank you, Lex. She said, hi, Mina. I received a proposal from a man in my rotation, but he is 2 years younger than me and earns less than me. Nope, don't do it. Already doomed. Already doomed. Keep it moving, girl. He's younger and earns less. There's a lot of psychological things that a man has to go through to be with a woman that earns more. It's not something we've evolutionary evolved towards, there's a whole stuff, like a lot of stuff that goes into that. You need someone that's really healthy and strong to be able to handle that. If you add the reverse age gap to that, I would say be careful, babe. Keep dating. If he's your only option in the next year, come back to him, see if it's still an option. Um, See if there's another option for you. Yes, honestly, if I had known about hypergamy early, I would have moved differently, been married by now. Girl, I hear you. And thank you for saying this because a lot of women, they feel like they're being shamed and they don't want other people to say this, but then we need to have these conversations with the younger women. So even the mistakes that I've made, like I shared with you that I didn't get to be at home with my oldest one because I was a single mom, working, going to school. But when I hear other women, like I want to give them that advice. I don't want to be like, well, I ruined my, like that chance. So like I'm gonna be triggered if you tell someone else. No, if someone else gets to be home with their children and spend that time, I'm gonna be very happy. Like even though I didn't get to do that with my oldest one. I'm at an age where I'm attracting young men and men my age. So it doesn't matter what you're attracting, what are you choosing? We attract all kinds of things. We don't choose them. What are you choosing? Don't worry about the attracting. Everyone's going to be attracted to you when you're doing feminine energy work. Please don't ever stop, Mina. Your purpose is divine and has helped me and so many women find your divine blueprint, find our divine blueprint as queens on this earth. Love your energy and aura. Looking forward to the next lesson. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that. How to make having a child his idea, like following the concept that he needs to create the timeline of our relationship to be in the one up position. Who are we talking about? Is this your husband? Thank you for your truth, Mina, always. Please do a training for the single mamas. I sure will. Yes, husband. So, um, the trick is to let it be your idea, but just convince him it was his. So that's what I do. So I just say it, and then I just tell everyone, "Oh, look at this great idea that Irfan thought of," and then he loves it and like takes the men love taking credit. Think about jobs. When we're at jobs, don't men like taking credit for our work? Like I have so many clients that are like, "Oh my God, my boss stole my business idea," or "My boss took credit for my work." I'm like, yeah, I know. They like taking our ideas. So use that to your advantage, okay? They like taking credit for stuff, plant it there, and then give him, let it be his idea. That's what I do. I'm in my 30s and don't have children. Would you recommend dating when with children? I, okay, I know a lot of you guys have like the biggest hearts of gold and you date men with children. I don't think I could do it. I was like, I had one guy in my rotation that had a child. Um, the thing is that this is so mean of me to say, but when a guy has kids, the mom's typically attached, she's somewhere there. Moms don't usually ditch their kids. So I feel like I'm coming with a child, but my ex is not in the picture. He doesn't want to be. And you're coming in the picture, and your ex is like, they're calling you and like, you know, in the mix. So yeah, I'm not the best person to ask that advice. I just don't like it. I know some of you guys are like so sweet and you have such big hearts and you treat their children like they're your children. You're a better woman than I am. I couldn't do it. I'm just being brutally honest with you guys. I wouldn't be able to do it just because there's another woman attached. Like, especially, I'm trying to put myself in the position that I was at the time. I didn't have this level of confidence that I have now. I wouldn't have been able to live with that. Kristen said, I don't have a heart of gold. on that topic. Okay. I'm glad you understand. I feel bad saying that, but I'm just being honest with you guys. I don't want to deal with that. Also, I wouldn't know my place. Like like I can parent them but not discipline them, but like I don't know. It's too much. Yeah. It's different when it's your kids because typically the man isn't involved. And even if it is, I feel like I guess this is gonna sound a double standard, but other like men are easier to handle than other women. You know how women are with other women. Let's just be honest. Especially when a man is involved and she's gonna have her hands in his paycheck. I don't know. Oh, someone saying don't do it. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Worst experience. Okay, Jay, I feel you, girl. Thank you for your honesty. I couldn't do it. So Irfan's cousin married a single mom, and he has a son from his previous marriage as well. She is handling it so well, like his wife and him too. He's awesome. Oh my God, Irfan has the best, like he has the best men and the best women in his family. They're handling it so well, and I was watching how she was treating his son and like at the wedding, and I was like, she's amazing. I don't think I could do it. She's amazing. I was like, hands off to you, girl. I just said it, Rebecca, 22, right after university. Right when you graduate out of university, date. And here's another thing. If you want to get a job after you're married in the honeymoon stage, if you want to, you can. But make it something you're not overly attached to that's not going to make you overly masculine because you're probably going to want to stay home with your kids. That time you can never get back. Thoughts on dating in your late 20s if you aren't at your ideal weight? Um, I can give you some bullshit about, let me give you the bullshit version first because I just think it's hilarious. Girl, there's a lid for every, what is it? Every lid for every pot, and there's men at every size, like all of that stuff. That's the bullshit version. The real truth is that there is an esteem meter and an internal audience in your head that is going to butcher the hell out of your self-esteem if you don't think you are at your ideal weight. The only way to convince that bitch in your head, that internal audience, that you're good is to follow the steps. That process is in this book. This is my first book. It's linked in the description box. And I talk about the internal audience and how you have to work with it. If you don't work with it, it's going to be self-sabotaging you on your way. So this isn't about men and what they like, and very much about the esteem meter in your own mind, which is a product of our evolutionary history. We all have it. You can't escape it. Um, Now, some psychologists believe, evolutionary psychologists believe that there is some slight genetic variations. Like some people have slightly nicer internal audiences than other people, but they're all kind of vicious if you are someone that doesn't follow through. So if you think that you don't have a healthy weight and you do nothing in that direction, you keep making promises and don't stand in integrity, it's gonna kill your self-esteem. It's just that internal voice in our head. That's where it comes from. I also talked about it in the Dream Girl course. Yes, in fact, I highly recommend my Dream Girl course if you want to hijack in your favor. So my internal audience right now at this point in my life thinks I'm like a 12 out of 10, okay? Regardless of if anyone else thinks about it or not, this internal audience cheers me on because I understand the parameters of how it works. I've used um, the psychological tricks and hacks to actually make it my biggest cheerleader. So when I wake up, it's like, yeah, you got this. You're so beautiful. You can do this. Like it cheers me on. But before, when I was a hot mess, it used to tear me apart. There was nothing anyone could say to make me feel better because it was always telling me the opposite. Hi, Mina. How should I go about having my rotation of guys providing for me, even though I'm not exclusive from any of them? I would say, babe, if you're looking for marriage, don't worry about that kind of stuff. if they do, they do. As long as they are traditional men that want to provide for you after marriage, it doesn't matter. Here's why. Hear me out. I know a lot of healthy masculine men now are gauging wife material, wife behavior against gold diggers. And gold diggers, real gold diggers, are women that don't really have your best intentions at heart. They just want to grab your money and run. They're basically thieves. They're like chindi chores. I talked about that concept before. They're like purse snatchers. Those are the women that are making it worse for everyone else, because then they lump all women in that category. So that's not a part of my work. Like, we as women can make so much money. Like, we've already proven that, right? In just one or two generations, we passed men in home buying, in education, college graduate, earning money. And so we don't need to do tactics like that. Don't worry about that. Worry about getting your forever family, your husband, your children. Don't worry about getting random money from these guys. That's the internal audience, babe. We all have it, by the way. We all have it. It's an evolutionary mechanism. So the reason that it exists is that it was designed to rehearse what it thought, how it thought our tribe members would behave. So obviously, if I thought that uh, I should go up and say this to my tribe member, and I should go rehearse and practice. If I actually went and practice, I could get kicked out of the tribe because I said something wrong, or I could get rejected. So we developed this mechanism that did the rehearsal for us. So it has this beautiful, I mean, it's a beautiful mechanism. Even though it's a bitch, it will tear you apart. It's really beautiful at the same time, where it rehearses in your mind. So it thinks of your tribe and you rehearsing in front of it and how it will judge you. And then based on that analysis, it judges you in hopes that it will get you to take action. So if your tribe says, oh my God, your tribe is going to think you're overweight, let's tell you you're overweight so you can stop being overweight and do something about you, that's what it's going to do. And it's going to be nasty because it thinks it's saving your life. It's an old evolutionary mechanism. It thinks it's saving your life. One option is to ignore it, but you have this crazy internal audience in your mind constantly bashing you, butchering you, right? So what I decided to do, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? And I've shared this in my book. I've shared it in the Self-Aware Barbie Activated Bundle. I've shared this in my Dream Girl course, which is a very low investment course that you can learn. And here, I'll give it to you now. What you need to do is take enough aligned action every single day to convince your internal audience that you have not only gotten the memo, but you are now taking action. So if you say, you know what, thank you, internal audience, I'm going to lose 50 pounds in 2 days, your internal audience is going to be like, you're not going to lose 50 pounds in 2 days. You said that last time and you didn't do that. So it's not going to believe you. So what you have to do is you have to give it something reasonable and then follow through, like literally do that. So when I told it that I was going to work out 2 hours every day, it was like, no, bitch, you're not going to do that. You've been saying that since you were in your 20s and you never did that now. You're going to do that now? Right? Like, it's not going to happen. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So I was like, okay, internal audience, I'm going to work out for 5 minutes every day. And it was like, we'll see about that. And so the first day I did it, it said, well, that's great, but you're probably not going to do it tomorrow because you always quit every workout plan you've ever had. So then I woke up the next day and then I did it again. And I said, okay, well, 2 days isn't that bad, but can you really do it a third day? So I woke up, I did it like a week. And then a whole 7 days later, it was like, good job. I'm like, that's all I'm gonna get, a good job. Okay. So then I raised the bar to 10 minutes. And it was like, oh gosh, now you're going 10 minutes. Now you're gonna, so I had to literally like, that's how you build self-esteem. That's literally the evolutionary definition of building self-esteem. I talk about this in my book, it's in my course. The link is in the description box so you can learn more about that. I'm reading Atomic Habits and just started the same thing, 5 to 10 minutes a day every day. Bought a scooter to make it fun. Oh, that is fun. Do you advise for living in a small town where dating options are limited and you don't get approached often? Can't move because of business. I think small towns are sometimes easier because there's less options and less confusion. I would work on your limiting beliefs, and then you can also drive to, there's always bigger towns attached to small towns. So I've heard every excuse in the book, so don't come at me with your limiting beliefs, but there's bigger towns. So when we used to live in South Carolina, we would drive to Atlanta all the time because I didn't like the shopping in South Carolina, but I love the shopping in Atlanta. So you can drive a little bit. You can go places. Awesome. Okay, guys, so I think I gotta go now. 3 more minutes until my kids are out of school. This was so much fun. Thank you, thank you. Learning about evolution from you in these live trainings has literally changed my life, Mina. This take on self-esteem and evolutionary basis is so interesting compared to the metaphysical take. Awesome. I'm so glad. Awesome. So, gut level emotional response. I'll see you guys in there in on September 5th with the communications training, how to talk to men. It will blow your mind. It's the best training ever. I know what I'm putting in there, and trust me, if you like these two trainings, you are going to love that training. So I'll see you guys in there. Bye, everyone.